Hello everybody, my name is Realini and today I will speak about education strategies and behavioral actions to mitigate energy poverty. First, a brief outline of the presentation, so I will introduce myself and the company I work for. Then I will introduce the project about energy poverty that we are implementing in Italy and all over Europe by explaining the project structure and introducing you to the first results and to our core business, that is the training of home energy advisors and the implementation of pilot actions with a focus on Italy, and then the home energy advisors network. So first of all, I work for a company called Ricerca sul Sistema Energetico, or RSE, that is focused on research from energy generation to energy distribution and end users. So all about energy. We are around 300 researchers. We are divided in 4 departments and we have plenty of laboratories where we perform applied research. And we also work about policy research and policy improvements. I belong to the Energy Efficiency Research Group that is working on energy efficiency in all its aspects, so all the sectors, industry, tertiary and residential, but also in transport sectors, and on consumers' characterization and behavior. And in this field, together with the energy efficiency in residential sector, energy poverty falls. We work mostly for public bodies. Our projects are funded by the Italian Ministry of Economic Development, but also by the European Commission and by other public bodies like municipalities, regions and provinces. The project in which we are developing a study on energy poverty is called Assist Together. It's an Horizon 2020 project where 6 countries are involved, each with 1 to 3 partners, plus a European organization that is the European Anti-Poverty Network. The aim of the project is to tackle energy poverty by implementing pilot actions through the training of home energy advisors that will support vulnerable consumers in their consumptions and energy supply choices. In particular, the role of the group I work for is Coordinated Home Package 5, that is focused on consumer segmentation, coordination of the pilot action, and we are also teachers for the training course in Italian. The project is structured in 4 main phases. The first one was the in-depth analysis, where we tried to understand who is a vulnerable consumer, how is it now supported and helped in Europe and in the different countries, and which are the needs of a vulnerable consumer and which are the barriers that are still existing in implementing effective solution to this issue. Then we have the second phase, that is the design and implementation of the Home Energy Advisors training course. And then there are 2 other phases that are in parallel: the Home Energy Advisors network establishment and the Assist Pilot Actions implementation. On the side, we have a group of expert advisors that is called the Vulnerable Consumer Steering Committee, that is composed by 10 members for each country plus 10 members at European level, and has the scope to give precise advice on how to progress with the project and to evaluate the progress made up to a certain moment. And then we organize think tank events in which we invite several stakeholders that are also not involved in the steering committee, where we present our result, and sometimes we do brainstorming or we ask for suggestions on how to proceed and pros and cons of what we are doing. So, as I said, one of the first results and the first goals was to understand what a vulnerable consumer is. We will focus mostly on the results we got for Italy. So, we used the Italian statistics, expenditures that is collected every year by the Italian Statistics Office, and collects all the expenditures of a significant sample of citizens. And among these expenditures, there is the energy expenditure. So we divided the Italian population into clusters based on their energy expenditure that is related to their energy consumption. And then we evaluated for these clusters their performances in terms of thermal comfort, absolute poverty, high or low energy expenditure, and food expenditures. We compared these parameters and we tried to understand which part of the Italian population was to be considered energy vulnerable or energy poor. And we found out that according to our indicators, around 12% of Italian population is affected by energy poverty. That is consistent with also another indicator that is developed in the Italian National Energy Strategy. We have, however, big differences between the northern and the southern part of the country, where in the north we have vulnerable consumers that are most single people with very high energy expenses, while in the southern part of the country we have families with very low energy expenses. Once we understood who is a vulnerable consumer and what are their needs, we defined the training course for home energy advisors. Home energy advisors are sort of energy social workers that provide support to vulnerable consumers in different ways, mostly by dedicated advice where they analyze the energy consumption patterns and behaviors of the energy vulnerable consumer, explain to the vulnerable consumer how to read their bills and how to compare their behavior with the type of contract they have that is explained in their bills, help vulnerable consumers in finding a more suitable type of contract or in changing their habits and behaviors in order to spend less while consuming the same energy, and help vulnerable consumers in requesting subsidies and financial support. Last but not least, they should provide advice on how to reduce their energy consumption or at least optimize it. In order to accomplish all the needs of different home energy advisors that come from different backgrounds and different fields, for example, they are social workers, but also energy utilities employees, consumers association operators, charities volunteers, we had to set a common background, a common base. So we designed a training course that is completely based on an online platform called Moodle, where they get some technical introduction about the field of energy and social system. They can be guided in practical activities like consumption checkup, energy bills analysis, energy consumption behavior support, and pilot action organization. And they also are introduced to communication strategies, privacy and data management, and coordination of pilot actions. In this training course, that is for the Italian part around 30 hours, they have constant monitoring where the platform tracks their training activity, the lessons that they follow, the number of hours they spend on the platform, and they can perform tests at the end of each unit and at the end of each module, and a final feedback module, after which they receive a certificate that assesses their completion of the course and calls them home energy advisors. In Italy, we organized different editions of the Home Energy Advisor training course. Of course, we have a base edition that has been done twice at the moment, that is called Full Home Energy Advisor, to define it. That is the complete course. Then we had some high school students that have some training on the job they have to perform during their education, just for some hours. So we designed a reduced training for them. And then we have some special courses for associations like consumers associations or charities that we are providing partly online, partly in person. Once the course is completed, the trained home energy advisor should implement pilot actions. Pilot actions can belong to different categories. Before pilot action come engagement events or engagement strategies, where home energy advisors organize general events to involve and attract vulnerable consumers. Then these can be deepened by dedicated consultancy, or those we called synergies that we will explain in the next slide. The engagement strategies are, for example, energy cafes, so general events organized, for example, at high school premises, where students that have completed the training meet families and have this general event about energy efficiency, energy consumption. Then they give the contacts of home energy advisors, full home energy advisors, that can support vulnerable families into their consumption check and so on, what we have seen in the first slide about home energy advisors. For other, we have some soft advice at home supplies shop where other students will work, or general advice, for example, at charities premises, social housing premises, and so on. Then we have the so-called action, that are the dedicated consultancy. While we estimated that with soft actions and engagement strategies with generic advice, energy savings of 2% could be achieved and we could reach around 2,000 people, with pilot actions we aim at 7% energy saving to at least 750 consumers. How can we get to that? By giving dedicated consultancy, dedicated advice that is customized on the family, on their consumption, on their contract, and so on. And this dedicated advice could be given either in a help desk or by visiting people home to home. For example, social workers could do that. Finally, we found synergies with other projects. So, especially for some social housing realities, where they are already implementing home retrofitting and energy efficiency measures, we are training home energy advisors that will organize short courses or give dedicated advice to people living in social housing that have been retrofitted. So for general courses we aim at 2% energy savings, like engagement strategies, and with dedicated consultancy in synergy with other projects at 7% or maybe more, since they have also retrofitted the house with energy efficiency structural improvements. The pilot actions is constantly monitored again through the platform we use for the education and the training. So when home energy advisors access the platform, they find questionnaires that they can give to vulnerable consumers, very easy questionnaires that evaluate their baseline, so how they consume energy, how much energy they consume, which is their cost they are having for energy, which is their level of comfort, and which is their awareness about energy. Then they give dedicated advice. After that, after some months, they verify whether their advice has been put in place. So they give the same questionnaires to the family, and they evaluate, or we as partners mostly evaluate, whether there has been any energy saving or cost saving, whether their comfort has increased and their awareness has increased. All these aspects will contribute to the monitoring of the results of the project. Home energy advisors are not alone. At the end of the training, they are not just implementing pilot actions, but they are also inserted into networks, especially their national network and the European network, where they can exchange experiences, share their results, ask for advice to the other home energy advisors. And at national level, they can also ask for physical support from other home energy advisors that have a different background and are more expert in other fields. For example, a social worker can find a support in an energy utility employee or in a consumers association operator. Or they can organize something together when there are maybe some home energy advisors that are from different realities in the same area. So at the end, they have full support both from the project partners and from their colleagues, and they can find useful advice and help from the other home energy advisors. Just to conclude, we are thinking that tackling energy poverty is a complex issue that does require a lot of instruments. The main one is home retrofitting, but since it costs quite a lot, it's important also to make consumers more aware of what they consume and how they consume and what they pay, and to try to trigger behavioral actions towards a more efficient behavior, energy consumption behavior, and a more efficient ecological behavior. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm available, and you can also go on our website and socials or send an email either to me or the team. Thank you very much. Bye bye.